Hello, everyone. Welcome to your September, well, I guess it's October now, October real estate market update. Looking back at the statistics from September from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Daniel and Katie here. Hello, how are you?
I am looking past these market numbers and feeling great.
All right, well, we're going to jump right into it. This is just one page that we did want to draw your attention to because it's a good summary of the bigger facts and figures that you want to be looking at when it comes to how the market did this past month.
Yeah. So I think this paints a pretty clear picture. I think what most people tend to gravitate to is the selling price, and they want to know what's happening with prices in general. This graphic here breaks it down in a way that gets a little bit more specific, which is definitely helpful because all of us are in different places in terms of what we have and what we're looking for. And the story is different across different types of properties. But on average, prices have come down versus a year ago. They've come down considerably versus 6 months ago. But the general trend continues to be that prices are going down across the GTA and Southern Ontario right now for virtually all types of property.
Yeah, and we'll get into the details for each one a little bit later, but I think I'm trying to remember from last month what we projected. I think we had said we would be into the negatives this month, but I can't remember because we were just hovering above zero last month. So this is a bigger jump than I expected, I think.
Well, and we also, I think I'm surprised actually, but maybe not, maybe it shouldn't be. We were talking about how the difference from what was a year ago, right? And I know when we talk about the beginning of this year, prices were super high. So like we're working against a year ago where prices were on a gradual rise versus now when prices are going the opposite direction. So I mean, are we going to talk about our predictions at the end? I'm already kind of, I'm tipping my hand. So yeah, we'll talk about predictions, but you can kind of see where those patterns seem to be going as we look forward to the future months as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, like I'm just thinking ahead to February of next year. Like if you're comparing it to this, like that's going to be very skewed. Like you're going to have to, I think, more rely on year over year, I would say at that point, because there's no sense comparing to.
You mean month over month?
Month over month. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's
even,
it. I mean, we're
even year to date. Well, yeah, no, never mind. I maybe that. Yeah. There's just so many different ways to think about it.
We're living in an economic climate right now in Ontario, in Canada, in the world, where things are just going bonkers pretty much everywhere, with inflation numbers up and interest rates going up. And with that, huge swings in people's affordability, which is nothing like it was a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So to compare it with a year ago, we're going to expect that we are going to be well below what the numbers were a year ago, increasingly so, at least until such a time where it started going down again here.
Like,
right?
Like June of next year kind of thing.
Right. And that's even if and when, like this doesn't mean prices are going to keep going down here. So to be clear, that doesn't mean we're going to see that average price continuing to drop as a dollar figure. But as compared to a year ago, the difference from a year ago is going to grow or decline, but it's going to be a larger drop in terms of the difference for the next at least 6 months.
That's right. So moving on to home sales and new listings, I think everybody can agree if you have been in the market or you've been seeing what's going on, it's been very, very, very slow. So the number of new sales has come down 44% versus September of 2021. That is considerable. And then new listings as well, which I guess contributes to the decrease in home sales, is 16.7% less than last year this time.
And this, I mean, this creates a bit of an opportunity for home buyers still here, depending on the prices people are looking for out there. You've got a greater ratio of available homes, and we'll talk about days on market and all that in a bit, but even though there's less new listings than there were a year ago, there's considerably more new listings as related to how much is selling than a year ago.
True.
Right? So
Yeah.
you can see that new listings are down 16.7%, but the sales are down almost 45%, right? So where there was, if I'm just trying to do the math here, there were, I guess, 4,000 more listings than sales roughly a year ago. Now there's over 6,000 more listings than sales right now. So even though stuff isn't selling, there's actually more out there in terms of actual inventory available to be seen by people.
Yeah. And that feeds into the sales to new listing ratio that's at the bottom there. Last year, we were at 67%. And one chart we've reviewed in the past, I mean, I guess it's subjective, but the way most people define, a buyer's market, balanced market, seller's market is a balanced market is between 40 to 60%. So we could say we're kind of at the low end of a balanced market right now. Did I say balanced market? I think I did.
It is a balanced market.
Yeah. No, I just thought I had said buyer's market instead. So anyway, 40 to 60% is a balanced market, which means that's what we're in right now, versus last year, we were in a seller's market above 60%.
Right. And that's just taking those numbers in those blue boxes and making sense of them with an actual ratio there.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
and hopefully that opens people's eyes. Like, part of this is, I know everything people are going to continue to see is painting devastating pictures about real estate and all that. But think back to a year ago, the devastating story was we can't buy a home. This is all about sellers. And for a lot of people, especially those looking to buy, it was a nightmare, right? Good stories are always going to try to play off of what's the most dramatic effect. But the reality is, we've come out of a dramatic effect. We're in a dramatic economy, but the market is actually in a balanced place. Like, it's actually brought us to a place that none of us have been familiar with for so long. So it feels super dramatic to those who have been used to, wait a second, how come homes don't have 15 offers per house, sight unseen and all that? That's not happening. But guess what? That means there's opportunity for buyers to actually go out, shop, look for the property they want, and actually buy it, right? So that's the positive side of things. There is a glass half full to all of this.
Yeah. So if we go a little bit deeper into breaking things down by area, the 416905, that's what we're looking at here. If you look at this bottom chart in terms of year-over-year price change, we can see that all markets except for the condo segment is down from a price point perspective. So detached is down negative or down 10.2%. Semis are down 6.5%. Townhouses are down just under 1%. And then the condo market is holding strong at 3.2%.
Yeah, and actually, like, I hadn't noticed this before, but even though townhouses are pretty flat, they're actually still up year over year in the 416, which I didn't notice before. I mean, statistically speaking, in a year, especially a year like this, a difference of 1 or 2% is basically saying flat, regardless of whether it's up or down.
That's
true. If you look at the humongous numbers on the left, though, and how much sales are down, like, almost every segment is down 40 to 50+% in terms of how many properties are actually being sold. And this is in September versus September of a year ago. So there's so much less being sold right now, and it's being sold on average at a lower price than what it was being sold at a year ago as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just a summary there of what we've already talked about. Is there anything else on this chart that you wanted to look at, or this document?
I mean, I don't know. Are we going to get into the days on market stuff in a different chart? Or okay, so then
that's this one here.
Look at that.
Here we go.
That was convenient,
wasn't it?
So days on market is something that we should all pay attention to, because that's kind of a real life practical application of all this stuff we're talking about, right? Which is, we're talking about what's coming out, we're talking about what's being sold, but we want to know how long, if you're a seller, how long should I expect, or am I seeing a property actually sitting before it's purchased on average? And as a buyer, am I actually able in my region to get out there and shop around, or do I have to be as worried as I was, a year ago, that the moment a good property comes out, it's going to be gone the next day? Now that's still happening for really good properties. That's not going to change. That demand is demand. But where there was an increase year over year in August between the average days on market versus a year ago, it's an even wider gap now, and it's gone up even more, which means homes are sitting for longer now than they were a year ago, as compared to last month versus a year ago. The difference again between listing days on market and property days on market, so that's the LDOM and the PDOM, is a listing day on market is basically for a property that gets a listing at a moment in time. How long does that listing at that price with that description stay up before it's sold? Property days on market is for the lifespan of that property, whether it's relisted, terminated, things like that. How long does it take to sell a home, regardless of the number of listings and relists it might take? Both of those are up. I believe it was property days on market that's up considerably more. And I might have that. I think I have that here. Yeah. Property days on market year over year is up 85% versus last year. Yeah. Listing days on market is up 65%, which is still humongous. But what that tells me, and then we can chat about it more. Sorry, I keep talking, but what that tells me is you've got more than ever before this bottleneck of people who are still stuck with expectations that aren't indicative of reality right now with the prices they're expecting. And because of that, they're either listed too high and just sitting there, or they're continuously chasing the market but behind by staying too high, even though they're doing price reductions or whatever it is they're doing and relisting. They're not catching up their expectations to reality. And when sellers are not in line with buyers' expectations, their properties don't sell. And when their properties don't sell, days on market get higher because it's still on the market. So that property days on market being up so considerably tells me there are more people who are continuously remarketing and relisting their property, but they're doing so in a way that's still not getting it sold because they're not doing it at a level on average where buyers want to be price wise.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say that, even comparing to February, when I looked at the numbers here, the average property days on market at this time, and when we were looking at the February chart, was 11 property days on market and 9 listing days on market. And I mean, I have no scientific basis for this at all, other than my gut feel is that 10 of those additional days that we're seeing right now on the market is due to the market and just the slowness of buyers and just they know they can take their time. And then the additional maybe 10 to 15 days on market is because sellers have come out with an expectation that isn't in line with what value is right now. So there's a combination there. Like, even if you come out with the right price and you're well positioned, it's still going to take, I would say, a week or two longer than it did back in February to sell your house. But you can definitely cut the pain down by making sure that you are pricing in line with value right now.
I think you're bang on there. I think looking at this regionally also, a couple of things. On the one hand, everything is moving in the same direction is one thing to note. So regardless of where you are, it's taking longer to sell. And I think that's just the mindset of sellers out there is still catching up everywhere to what reality is right now. But not across the board, but when you kind of take sample sizes of major city center versus smaller markets, and if you want to call it 416, 905 or whatever, I think the mad dash that there was during the busy time to be out of the city and to find places and homes and land and all that, as buyers are seeing there's more out there, the days on market of some of these smaller outside of the core towns is going up even more so, right? So when you look at some of these average property days on market, like, Halton Hills, 49 days, right?
Yeah.
Georgina, 43 days. The smaller numbers are in places like the East is still actually relative to average. When you look at some of the Durham region,
Mhm.
you know, with the exception of Brock, it's staying well below the average in terms of days on market. So people are still staying there. That's close to the core. But then when you get
Mhm.
to, you know, like look at Simcoe County
Yeah.
there, like most of it is over 50 days, where it was half of that, less than half of that a year
Mhm.
ago.
Yeah.
So and on top of that, the ratio of listing days on market to property days on market in those is even wider. So you're seeing people in smaller markets relisting more, and it's sitting longer with relists as compared to, there was a much closer, oh, I just went off your screen there. Oh no,
You're
I
still
think that was
here.
my own screen. Um,
It went off my
sorry.
own screen.
It was weird. No, I was getting a phone call, and Apple stuff all connects, and my screen just went bonkers with phone calls. But anyway, so right now you're seeing more of this effect in places that are outside of the core, is what I'm saying. It's
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah.
up and things are sitting longer, but I don't want to call it less desirable because that's not fair. But I think people who felt they needed to leave and go an hour plus out of the city to purchase a home don't have the same mindset now,
Yeah. Exactly.
or as much so.
Agreed. All right. So predictions for November. Where are we going to be?
I mean, I think we're going to see prices are still going to be down a bit month over month. Like if we're just talking about the trend, and I don't know if we touched on that, but like the prices on average compared to August were still down a bit.
Yeah.
If we're just talking what's happening in real time, I think
Right.
that trend is going to continue. There's still another interest rate announcement to come. It's at the end of October though, right?
Mhm.
So that's not
Yeah,
good.
we might not see as much of an impact that because
Yeah, like
yeah, the one in September was early in September.
yeah, but I do think things are still going to play catch up in the short term. But the big jump difference we're going to see in terms of like statistical mind blowing stuff is going
Mhm.
to be this increasing gap between what it was a year ago and what it is this October, because prices were continuing to go up. And they're going to, even if they stay relatively flat here, that whatever it was, 4% decline year over year is going to be bigger next year.
Yeah.
So for people who are
Mhm.
thinking of selling or buying, try to live in the right now. There is opportunity. Stuff is still selling over ask. We didn't talk about, I wanted to quickly touch on just the listing price versus selling price.
Mm.
That's one thing I noticed. We're still sitting at, on average, 99, 100% across almost every market for the, yeah, here's one example here. Everything is, for the most part, below 100%. Last month, I think everything was below 100%, meaning on average, nothing was selling over ask. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that stuff is selling cheap. It just means sellers' price expectations are starting now to take the strategy of asking what the market is giving them rather than playing games and underpricing as much. We're not
But
seeing as
there's
much of that.
yeah, but there's definitely still
Sorry.
some areas that are going over. Like you can see Toronto East, Markham. I don't think we saw that last
Mhm.
month. And I think it also has to do with just the strategy that some agents are taking. I've seen a lot more significantly underpriced and then selling for higher. So yeah, Ajax, Oshawa, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, there's still spots where, and 101%, I mean, on an average, that means there are some homes that are selling 10, 20% above ask and some that aren't.
Mhm.
It's an interesting thing though, because when you look at it compared to, is this one year to date that you're showing here? This one that we're on, I can't see the second.
Yeah, let me see here.
Yeah, year to date. So look at this. This is what this year has looked like. So when we look at the trend at that sale
Yeah,
price to listing price, everything was considerably above
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
And now, you know, there's a
Durham,
couple regions.
geez.
Yeah, it was madness. And so this
Yeah.
is inclusive of September. Like this is inclusive of the last couple of months where it was under 100% on average.
Yeah.
So the market in general is starting to price more appropriately, but you're right. There's definitely regions where the strategy remains priced low. There's still regions where properties are super hot and going to continue to sell. And when a good property comes out, it sells. So to sellers who are looking at this and saying, oh man, I can't get the money I want, now could be as good a time as ever, because you've got all these stale properties playing catch up. If you come
Mhm.
out there with a solid listing, presented well, priced appropriately, you're going to beat the market. It's still
Yeah.
out there. But you've got to now think a little bit more than you might have in February, where it was just, hey, if I just put this out there, someone's going to buy it and pay me an exorbitant amount of money for it. That world has passed.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay,
So
well,
what's your I didn't, I cut you off before you did your prediction.
oh, I mean, I think, yeah, it'd be probably very similar to what you're saying. I think we're still going to be down price wise. I think listings will still be down. We're heading into a long weekend this weekend. I think that's going to have an impact on things. So I think it's going to be a very similar story next month to this month for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for
All
listening,
right.
guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, info@getontheblock.com, and we can chat about real estate.
We can dive into these numbers even more.
That's right. All right. Until next month, we will see you later.
Bye.